Warning, this video may contain spoilers for the TV show or movie that we discuss in this video. If you have not yet watched the TV show or movie that this video is about, please come back to the video at a later time after you have watched the content that was discussed. You have been warned.
Rising with each beat of the music is bringing real flames in the fire that keeps burning. We're inviting the night in.
Tactical nuke incoming!
How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video for you guys. And oh boy, this actually was one, this one has been something that has been a long time coming, because I've been getting a lot of shit from our buddies at the Novakast channel for not watching this first, and apparently watching the movie as my first experience of watching anything involving this IP. So yeah, I'm watching Death Note and reviewing. Not just one, but a couple of episodes for each video, as per suggested by MJ, so that way we can get more of, or at least longer videos. And this is a long series, and it's only one season, so, and it, by the way, when it comes down to the text at the bottom, it may say season 1, episode, 1 to 3, or 4 to 5, whatever, but it is, I guess, just one series or one season for the entire show. So we are going to go through a couple episodes each video, and it's going to be interesting, because I don't think I've ever done it like this before. And if anything, we're going to try to go through this as somewhat quickly as possible. I doubt that, but in a sense, that's what we're going to try to do. So with this particular episode, we're going to do 1 through 3. And I gotta say, I'm actually really excited to try to, go through and review every single one of these episodes. So, without further delay, why don't we go ahead and get started. Alright, to start us off, we can talk about episode 1, which I'm gonna say is interesting, to say the least. And it really does set up the whole situation with Death Note, where we have Ryuk, the Shinigami, who is bored out of his mind, and Light Yagami, who also is bored out of his mind and wants to live a better world, or live in a better world. So Ryuk takes a Death Note and proceeds to toss it into the human world, seeing who picks it up. Whereas Light finds the Death Note, reads the instructions and the rules, and basically goes to town. First, and I love how they set it up, where first he's kind of doesn't believe it to be real and kind of questions it, but ends up kind of testing it first by, I guess, for starters, noticing a random situation where a person was holding a group of people hostage. Tests it out with the name and because I guess one of the rules is you have to have the name and the face of the individual you're going to kill. So he has the name and the face of the individual, and to kind of test it out, doesn't give the explanation or the cause of death, and sure enough, on live television, that individual dies from a heart attack, which I guess that's the case with if you just give the name of the individual and don't give a cause of death. I think within 40 seconds they die. So sure enough, that's what ends up happening. The person dies, and after that he then starts kind of slowly but surely killing off every horrible person on the planet. Ryuk takes notice of this and proceeds to go to the human world, where Ryuk is amazed or interested in Light Yagami, who at this point has, to an extent, a plan and a way of doing this whole situation, or this whole thing, where he is literally killing off the mass majority of the worst to make room for, the more I guess, more pure people of the planet. And he has a way, he basically has a plan, a way of committing to that plan, and his end goal is to become the god of the new world, as he puts it. So, that was episode 1, and I gotta say, it was actually a really cool setup, especially with how we're going to be going through things. Now, following further, we get to episode 2, where, I guess, organizations around the world are now trying to see similarities when it comes down to, the variety of different people that are killed or, dying from heart attacks or accidents and so on, and start to assume that, there might be somebody involved. With these, organizations like the FBI, CIA, and a variety of other legal organizations trying to scramble to uncover who's doing this, people are now deciding to go to an individual by the name of L, who could possibly uncover the identity of Light, or as he's now being called by the public, Kira, which actually is a really cool name. We actually get this really cool situation, or at least, I guess, broadcast, where, I guess, L tests Light in his abilities, where they bring somebody on the stage that claims to be L, and Light kills him, not realizing that it's not L, it's actually a random criminal who was supposed to be sentenced to death, or charged. So, in some sense, he didn't kill L, but in some sense, L learned a little bit about Light and how he's been able to basically kill people, or at least kind of understand it a little bit with the fact that apparently Light doesn't have to be present with the murders. And I gotta say, it's actually a really cool scene, and it might just be me, but the music that plays around this kind of reminds me, or is reminiscent to, or close to, the music from The Exorcist. I could be wrong, but in some sense, it's a really cool theme. So all in all, the game is set, the characters are, I guess, in place, and both Light / Kira and L are now on the game to, figure out who's who and bring them to justice, I guess. So that's actually going to be really cool. Now, going further to talk about episode 3, oh my gosh, this one actually was interesting. Because right now, or at least as for episode 3, the cops and everybody are trying to scramble to, even more to uncover who Light or Kira is. And to some extent to try to keep people off his trail, or at least L and the police off his trail, Light then proceeds to, with new information by the way, is able to kind of switch around the pattern, so to speak, when it comes to how people are dying and the times, because people were noticing, or at least the cops as well as L were noticing a particular pattern which indicated that the individual who was Kira might be a student, which in some sense narrows down their search as to who or what is Kira. So, with that information, or at least when it comes down to, going further into putting into more detail, as well as the time that the person is supposed to die, Kira / Light is able to kind of protect himself a little bit. And at the same time, we also find out that apparently the chief of the police is Light's dad. And thanks to his dad, he's able to gather information about a variety of other criminals, so to speak. Which, I think that was something because again, I mentioned that my previous experience, anything involving Death Note, was that of the Netflix film. So, it was interesting that we got to see that as well in that. But it seems like it's done a little bit better. In fact, to an extent, like with everybody dying, or at least the criminals dying. At the moment, we start having police wanting to leave the case because they're afraid of their lives being taken or being killed. Especially with the fact that them doing an investigation uncovered that all the people who have died not only were on police record, but also their faces as well as their names were made public to news organizations. So to an extent, people are getting skittish about wanting to continue the case on Kira. With that, it gets more and more interesting, especially now. It kind of ends with after, I guess, a late class. Light is going home, and he apparently is being followed. And with that, Ryuk ends up bringing up another detail. And, oh my gosh, this one actually hits home for everybody. And I'm going to say I'm curious, but I have a feeling he probably won't do it. But anyways, Ryuk mentions that there's a difference between, the death gods, the Shinigami, and, humans who have the Death Note. Is that when it comes down to the usage of the Death Note, the humans have to know, or at least, unless, for whatever reason, the Death Note won't work unless they have the person's name and their face. But Shinigami, apparently, with their eyes, or at least something that has to do with their eyes, they're able to not only tell the person's name, but also when they're going to die. And mentions a particular deal that Shinigami make with humans that have Death Notes, and that is if they give a half of their lifespan, then they are gifted the eyes of a Shinigami. Now, another thing, too, is they mentioned, Ryuk mentioned something actually really interesting, which was the fact that apparently every time a Shinigami kills somebody, their lifespan, or that person's lifespan that they kill, whatever it would have been, would be given to the Shinigami that killed them. So let's say if a person was supposed to live 60, but ends up dying at 40, that Shinigami who killed them would receive 20 years. Using the example that Ryuk gave, which honestly, that's actually really cool. It actually adds to I'm just gonna say it's a very, very, very interesting detail, and explains, to an extent, it kind of goes into, if anything, shows, you can't do this without me, but at the same time, you may lose unless you do this deal with me. And it kind of ends there, where, to an extent, we have Light kinda considering the deal. But who knows? At this second, I'm curious as to how this is going to work. I don't know. But I am very curious about this show. And the first 3 episodes are actually really good. So, with that, I'm going to continue watching, because this show is actually really entertaining. At least the first 3 episodes that I've seen thus far. So, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If you guys have anything you'd like to add, leave in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below. Also, by the way, if you guys have any other shows you guys want me to talk about, or movies to review, let me know. Leave in the comments down below. And at some point, I might consider doing Twitter polls as well. If you guys want to follow our daily content, please do so, as well as the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.